Hi, and welcome to On the Table, a show where we are exploring the utter messiness of what it means to be human and alive, what we're learning and unlearning, getting really curious about ourselves and others, and generally fucking around and finding out. On that last note, an exciting thing happened in the last couple of weeks while Ian and I were in Mexico. Note the rapidly fading tan. This bootstrapped grassroots little show passed both 100,000 views and 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I know is a drop in the bucket when you consider that things like hamster mazes, look it up, they're amazing, get like 50 million views, but we've got to celebrate the small wins, you know? Especially when I consider the like 100,000 times I laid awake in bed before making this show worrying that it would maybe get a sum total of 9 views and 8 of them would be from my mom. As it turns out, she has contributed many, many more views than that. I really want to thank all of you, my mom included, from the bottom of both my and Ian's hearts for the support, and more than anything for applying some of the wisdom that you've picked up here to your own lives. When I get a message or a comment from one of you saying that something in an interview resonated or impacted your life in a real way, I swear to God, it is as good as an orgasm. Maybe not as good as 2, but definitely 1. And what fascinates me about this journey is that as much as this milestone matters, and it does matter, I'm not making this work for it to exist in a vacuum, I find myself to be so much less achievement obsessed than I have been historically, and I think I've realized that I've been quite achievement obsessed. I thought it would be more so because this is my own thing, and in so many ways the stakes are higher than they have been for anything else. But I think because I'm finally doing the thing that I actually truly want to be doing, not the thing next to the thing, that in and of itself has become its own internal motivation for me. It's like it's gone from a more external, ego-driven orientation, prestige and titles and awards, to a more internal, soul-driven one. Not that I would say no to an Emmy or a sponsor, holler, but the piece of me concerned with how this looks to other people has taken more of a backseat than it ever has, I think, in my whole working life, and that is a massive liberation. And this is something that has stood out to me about my guest, Rivkah Reyes. They is a creative polymath, an actor, a musician, a comedian, a writer, a producer. Sometimes we share the stage dancing together, who was thrust into the limelight and fame at an early age, which can be a great many things, among them very unmooring. She's queer, she's sober, she's delightfully witchy. She is someone who over and over again has done the work to really figure out and honor and own who she is, the work of choosing herself. And I respect the hell out of that. And we're gonna dig into that today.
Yay!
Yay!
Oh my God, what an intro, and congratulations on your 100K.
Thank you so much.
It's so exciting.
Cheers to you.
Hi. Yay, cheers, coffee cheers.
You know, per usual, my husband and director Ian is behind the camera, our incredibly tiny and nimble crew today. Thank you to them, and thanks to our best friends for lending us their stunning home. If you haven't already, please subscribe, share this with your friends, consider the small wins in your own life. Okay, off to the races, babe.
Yay.
So like, as legend has it, and you know, if you Google your name, this is all over the internet, we don't need to get into the details of it, but like, you were cast in School of Rock at the age of 10, more or less plucked from obscurity, living a normal kid life in
straight
Chicago.
Up. It was my first ever audition for anything, and she booked it.
Wow.
Which, yeah, I think definitely put a weird thing in my head, because not only like my family and, you know, specifically my mom, but everyone, you know, was telling me while we were making the movie, like, oh, you're such a natural, like, you're gonna be like famous, like this is gonna skyrocket you to new heights. And I was just like, I don't even know what that it means, or like if I want that or not, but I think I let people tell me that that's what I wanted, to a point where when I didn't get it right away, it crushed me inside. So, yeah.
I mean, I think this is such a fascinating I think this is such a fascinating aspect. Like, I think we all as human beings fall prey to and have to deal with sort of like these external forces telling us who we are, what we're meant to be.
Usually your parents are the first ones.
Yeah.
And then from there, every person you meet kind of tells you who you are in some way.
Well, and you have this on steroids, right? Because it's like you get put into the limelight and it sounds like suddenly the entire world is telling you who you are. Were you, at that young age, were you consciously aware of that happening to you at the time? Or was it only like later on in hindsight that you were like, oh man, like,
it's kind of both. It's kind of both. I like in hindsight, definitely I'm able to put the words to it now, but at the time it felt strange. At times, like, you know, I would go on these general meetings or like go chat with like music producers. Like there was a world in which I might have like almost done an album when I was like 11 or 12. And while my mom and I were in this meeting with this producer, and he was doing a great job of telling me who I was or who he thought I was, and I was just sitting there going, yes, and internally going, that's not really true, about some of the things he was saying. And I can't really remember like specifics of that, but I do remember the feeling of being like these people are all like telling me things that they think they know about me that aren't true, and I'm like very confused by it. But
you had that awareness. You had that awareness even then.
Super young, yeah. I think I was always pretty intuitive, and I had a really strong barometer internally for like when somebody was bullshitting me or when I was being manipulated or used from a very young age. It's like something you kind of have to watch out for when you suddenly come back to school and people are being nice to you for the first time. And so I was just like, interesting. That person used to like put lasagna in my backpack. Like I definitely don't know why they're being nice to me now, but actually I do. It's because, you know, I just did this big movie and people like want to be on my good side now.
Was there any piece of you that was like just content to sort of lap up the adulation, or were you instantly dubious of it?
I was just instantly, I think I was born uncomfortable. I came out like, I came out with like, I was stillborn for like a couple seconds, and then I like, you know, woke up and started crying, and then my mom was like, oh my God, she's gonna be an actress. That's the lore, that's the way the lore goes. Yeah, my parents kind of like had this big idea that my name would be in lights one day. And while that came true, a lot of my childhood was just like me kind of being pushed in a certain direction, which, you know, ended up being the right direction. I loved performing. I love making music and I love acting and all of that. And yes, I was put into it kind of against my will. There are things that were certainly like against my will, and there are things that I've like now kind of learned how to reclaim and take back. And I have these like trauma responses where I like then remember, I'm like, oh wait, I'm in charge of my own career now. My mom's not my manager anymore. Oh yay. Like, and it's nice.
Remembering that you have autonomy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a big growth edge that I'm kind of coming up against right now is this thing of like independence and autonomy and discovering new ways in which I have autonomy over damn near everything in my life. There's a lot of stuff I am not in control over, but the things that I am in control over are really cool things. So getting to like appreciate the things that I do have autonomy and control over versus accepting the things that I don't.
Well, this is like at the basis of AA, right?
Yeah, it's a very serenity prayer vibes.
I have the last line of tattooed on my en français.
How do you say it in French?
Et la sagesse, donc connaître la différence. Please don't come at me for my pronunciation. I was raised in
knew you could speak French.
This is not an ode to AA necessarily, but my mom and I moved. I was raised by a single mom, and we moved a fair amount when I was growing up. But wherever we were, there was always a French version of the Serenity Prayer that was like always in our front hallway.
That's beautiful.
And there was just a very dark period that happened in my early 20s, and so I decided that I needed this reminder.
Was that your first tattoo?
That was no. My first tattoo is a little star that I have on my foot that I got with my high school best friend. Shout out to Whitney Clark, love you.
Aww, that's
Grabowski,
so cute.
Sorry, still use her maiden name. She's been married forever and ever. And it's funny because she's kind of like she would have been like the Charlotte of the Sex and the City characters, but she was one who was like so adamant about us getting it. Am I?
I don't know.
Who are you?
I think I'm Carrie. I think I'm Carrie, but I also have like Samantha-esque qualities.
For sure. Yeah. You and me both.
Yeah. I'm more of a girl's girl. Like when I want to be asked what girl's girl am I, to which the answer is Jessa. In that like I'm a little bit of an asshole, but for the most part I'm just like very honest with my friends when I can be. And I like doing things for the story.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's like I'm the same way. It's like I'm a writer and I'm a host, and it's like, you know, what did Nora Ephron say? She said like everything is copy, you know?
Oh, I never heard that. Love that. Everything is copy. I always like to say that I'm always in pre-production for something. Even if the contract isn't there, even if the offer is in my email. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of offers in my email right now, but I'm now like, and of course now I'm like in pre-production for like several things, which feels great. She's booked and blessed.
We love to hear this. Well, I mean, like, I think, you know, going back to the conversation about your childhood fame and how unmooring and dizzying an experience that can be, and the notion of like the world defining you by a thing, even if you've done the work to not define yourself in that way, right? Like, you still kind of have to, sorry, by the way, I just have to address this. If you see me moving around a ton, it's because I'm getting notes from my director to scooch around. I think I'm in the right place now. I do wonder about like the notion of, you know, it's one thing to do the work internally to say this thing doesn't define me and it's not going to be the thing that is my identity for the rest of my life, but it's a totally separate thing to have done that work when you're still sort of being confronted by the outside world saying you're that girl from that thing, you know? Like, what has been the process for you of extricating yourself from that? Or have you just kind of found peace with it?
Both. I've found peace with it. I know that there's down the line going to be something like, I mean, I see big things for myself, and a lot of people in my life tell me that they see big things in the pipeline for me, and it's now like 21 years later, coming up on 21 years later, feeling like that's the truth. I do have this like deep-seated like fear/resentment that like I could be like winning an Oscar and somebody in the audience would scream like, cello, you got a bass. And I think that would be hilarious. Like now I'm like, that would be really funny if that actually did happen.
Yeah.
But it used to be just like a huge fear of mine that like I was gonna die like and School of Rock was gonna be my biggest credit. But even if I do die tomorrow and School of Rock is my biggest credit, like it's a pretty fucking cool thing to have.
It's a pretty fucking cool thing.
Like on your resume at all.
Yeah, 100%.
We didn't know we were gonna make one of the best comedies of all time, like, and I don't say that like, you know, thinking I'm the big shit, but like it's a lot of people's comfort movie. I'm your favorite former child star's favorite former child star to steal from Chappell Roan and Sasha Colby. Like it is pretty wild the legacy that it's had. And so now I've kind of pivoted from being like resentful and self-loathing about it to being like grateful and excited about the fact that I was in this amazing project and that I'm still friends with everybody from it. We all love each other dearly. We try to see each other as much as possible. I'm like playing in a band with one of the like boys from the movie, the kid who played the guitarist, Joey. I mean, he's like my brother. They're like my family, you know?
It's incredible.
It is incredible. It was a beautiful thing to be a part of. It would be different if it was like all that, or like one of the Nickelodeon shows that documentary just came out about. Like, and I'm just so grateful that like School of Rock, there was really not a single booger in the bunch. That we had one kid that got fired like a couple weeks before production. Richard Linklater was like, I will not have this energy on my set, and he fired a kid from School of Rock.
Wow. Well, and I mean, that is a powerful move. And also such an important one, because it's like the holistic harmony is so important, right? Like it might have these stories that you're telling about everybody feeling like family to this day might not be the case
if that one kid
energy
had still been in it. Yeah, he was just really competitive and like diva-esque for like not that big of a role, and he was like telling, you know, he's like, oh, I have more lines than you, and we're like, we don't care, like, and yeah, Richard was just like, yeah, we're not gonna have that.
What did early fame teach you about the nature of celebrity?
Just being exposed to like sex, drugs, and rock and roll at 10 or 11. I was 11 when the movie came out. 10 when we were filming. But yeah, it just was wild. I mean, I remember at the premiere for School of Rock, Steve-O was there, and we all had these little autograph books, because once the movie came out, we all were like meeting all these people, and we were like, oh my God.
You were getting the autographs.
We were getting autographs from all the people that we were meeting, like Ozzy Osbourne and his whole family, like, and Dave Grohl, and all these like rock stars that we were like obsessed with, and other, you know, Sheryl Crow like was at the premiere, and so we like wanted to get like little words of wisdom from them.
Yeah.
And so we like had these autograph books and would ask them to like write nice things to us and like give us words of advice for like young rock stars in the industry. And most of them were like chill and nice. Steve-O in one of the girls' autograph books wrote like, "You're fucking hot," like, and she was like 11, and oof. I just thought that was like really, and you know, I think Steve-O's in recovery now, like good for him, but still like not a great move. Yeah, like just having that like unwanted kind of like attention at that age, and still getting a lot of unwanted male attention at this age, and a lot of it having to do with like the fact that I was like a child star in something that, you know, everyone was saying like, oh, she's gonna be so hot when she's 18, and having to like deal with
and being aware of that,
and being aware of that, because it was on these like IMDb message boards, which is like Reddit for movie people, which, you know, a lot of incels on there. And yeah, I don't know, like having those comments sort of like read to me by my mother, yeah, didn't feel great.
Oh man.
Yeah. And it wasn't like she was reading them to me being like, this is great. She was like, oh, that's kind of creepy. But I was like, yeah.
But it's like maybe a level of exposure that you didn't need at that age. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think also I learned a lot about how not to be a diva. But that I think came with a lot of me kind of silencing myself and thinking that for like speaking up when an outfit was itchy, or like when I didn't like the way my hair looked, that I was gonna be called a diva or a bitch, or like deemed difficult to work with, and that was why I wasn't gonna like make it in Hollywood, by also my mother, but other people too. Now looking back at all that, I'm very vocal when an outfit's itchy, or when I don't like my hair, or when I don't like the way I'm lit, which we're good.
We'll give you a comment card after the show.
Thank you. But yeah, now I'm very vocal about that stuff, because I'm not going to be able to give my best performance if I'm thinking about the wool making me break out in hives, or like a light being too hot on me and going to give me an aura migraine, which I've recently told Serena that I get frequently. Yeah, I think that there's no reason to like be uncomfortable, and when it comes to like, you know, other actors too, like intimacy in certain scenes, like I want to yes, get the shot and get the story, but if something's making me uncomfortable, I'm not going to just like sit there and take it and be afraid to be called difficult to work with or a diva. Well, not at the expense of my own fucking comfort and freedom and like mental clarity.
Well, I applaud you for getting to that place, because I think we, almost every single one of us, but I think maybe more profoundly as women or female identifying people or people who present as feminine, yes, have in subtle and less subtle ways been sort of told from jump that, you know, to be good in this world is to people please and to
be docile.
To be docile and even if you're like a strong, assertive person like we both are, to on some level like place other people's comfort above your own. And I remember having this moment some years ago where like the place where I worked out was in a hotel, and I was like friends with all the valet guys, and they were like my buddies, and there was this one guy and he was just so inappropriate with me all the time, and it made me feel so uncomfortable. It made my skin crawl and it made me not want to go there, and for months I just put up with it. You know, and I did nothing about it. And then one day I thought to myself, why am I placing the comfort of this stranger above my own, you know?
Yeah.
And so I said something, and of course it became intensely uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and then
course.
he behaved like completely weirdly and dramatically around me at any given moment. So then you also have those moments where you go like, ugh, like would it have been easier to have just not said anything? But I do think it is like such a, it's a very like lengthy and important process that we all have to engage in, of like constantly assessing like, am I being true to myself here? And also like, I don't know, fucking sometimes it's like, call me a bitch.
Yeah, I don't
call
care.
me a diva. You know what I mean?
I'm perfectly happy being the villain in somebody's narrative if it means that I get my freedom, my peace, my serenity, my happiness. So
yes, it's
even
like,
if it's a random ass valet guy or a fucking wardrobe person on set or like whatever, like I'm perfectly happy being the villain in that person's story. Or if it's like a significant person in my life, like that I have to like end or like set a boundary with or end a relationship with, like I'm perfectly happy being a villain in somebody's life if it means that I'm free.
well, and you know what, sometimes I think being the villain in someone else's story is also maybe what propels them to do some work in journeying in their own lives, right? So that maybe hopefully at some point with some work and some reflection, you are no longer the villain, you know? And they
but
get to
I
a
can
space
only
of
keep my
forgiveness.
side of the street clean. I'm not going to be checking in on those people and being like, hey, are you doing the deep work around your resentment against me? I can't do that because I have my own resentments and my own shit to work out, you know? So it's more of a like, for me at least, I do find a lot of freedom in just like reminding myself that that person has work to do on themselves and they have all the time in the world to do that work on themselves. I also have work to do on myself and I should probably do it right now, because if I don't, that's gonna like stick to me and it's gonna make it hard for me to like write music or be present for this interview or be present in this scene that I'm shooting or whatever.
My old therapist used to say to me, what other people think about you is none of your business.
Yeah.
You know?
So sad.
The first few times I heard that, I was just like mad. I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, it's so true.
It's so true.
And when it hits and when you get it, you're like, yeah, I can't control that.
I always need to be reminded of that. And I am constantly reminded of it because I have a brain that forgets. I'm very forgetful in that I forget that I have like a disease that tells me that I don't have a disease called alcoholism. That makes that takes one tiny thing that happens to me in my day and puts it through this ear and then shits it out the other ear as a giant, massive inconvenience, resentment, fear, all of the negative feelings and thoughts and ideas that I have about myself, I project onto other people and everyone around me, all because I don't know how to handle my liquor. And it's really fucking funny the way that my mind lies to me. And so this is just like a constant like daily process of like waking up and going, all right, what is the negative thought that I have about myself or a person or a situation that I have to shut up and like accept as being exactly as it should be, so that I can like live a peaceful life today.
What are the tools that you use in those moments to help reorient that?
Meditation. I love like a
yes.
15-minute like Abraham Hicks, or like a 15 minutes of like ambient music, or 15 minutes of complete silence, which is rare for me. I kind of need something. Or yeah, I exercise to like get myself into my body and out of this, because this is the danger zone. I write. I sometimes will just like, morning pages, like 3 pages of whatever bullshit I wake up with, and just like vomit it onto the page. And then I like look at it and I kind of laugh, because a lot of the stuff that I'm writing down is either like complete lies or like negative kind of fantasies that I have about myself or my life, or things that I can just go, oh, that's kind of valid. Actually, we're going to work through this in therapy, or like with like a trusted friend that's also sober, or like a sponsor, or somebody close to me that gets it, that shares the language. And just like, bringing it to the universe, to God, or whatever my understanding of God is for the day. Sometimes it's just not me. Other days it's like a like capital G, like G-O-D.
Well, I mean, I want to talk about that with you, because you, as you've referenced, and as I referenced in the opening, you are sober. You have been for some years.
Some time.
And you're in AA. You've worked the program. Yeah. When you came into it, and a big component of it, and I think one that is actually like deeply misunderstood about it, is the spiritual component, right? And I think a lot of sort of liberal, progressive, but very secular people can have this sort of knee-jerk, like, oh, I don't know about that God part,
myself
right?
included. I was very anti-God, and it kept me from going into like the 12-step world for a while. I'm not allowed to speak on behalf of like AA or anybody in AA but myself. My understanding of it is that I get to choose what my God is every day. For the 10 plus years that I was using drugs and alcohol, that was my God. My God was like, when's the next time I can get high, so I don't have to feel my feelings or like face myself. What can I put in front of myself so that I don't have to like be in reality? And now my higher power is like the great reality, which is that deep down inside of me and every person is this fundamental, like, universal idea of love, capital L love. And like, that is enough of a higher power to me to get me through the day. Sometimes I need a bigger one. Sometimes it's the moon, but then sometimes I get like kind of codependent with the moon and blame my like bad personality traits on the moon.
What the moon's doing.
It's the moon's fault. It's not mine. I'm always crazy around this cycle of the, no. But yeah, it's always growing and changing, because I'm always growing and changing. But yeah, that's my relationship with it, is like, sometimes if I can't like conceptualize what God or a higher power is for me, I at least can act as if I have a relationship with one, and that just means like be nice to people and like help somebody else and keep my side of the street clean and be patient.
I read something recently. I'm not going to remember what spiritual guide it was who said that. Or maybe it was Wayne Dyer. I don't know. We'll put it in the description. But he said like a sort of like a low vibration thought is like, I need more, and a high vibration thought is like, how can I serve? You know?
Whoa.
And like, I think that's such an incredible reorientation that you can do in any given moment, right? Because so much of our negative stuff is around like scarcity.
More, yeah.
If I just had more beauty, more wealth, more success, better relationship, whatever the fuck, right?
Damn.
Then I'd be okay, right?
Yeah.
So that I've been using that recently, and I love that.
That's beautiful.
I love that.
Oh, I love that.
I also love that.
Put that on a t-shirt or a tattoo.
I know, right? Well, You've got some.
I've
you've
got
some real
space.
estate.
I've got a little.
You've got some space. Maybe we'll go get one together. I'm jonesing for like
Matchy tatties.
6 more right now. We've got our palm trees.
Yeah.
There's something else about AA that I love so much, which is that, and I learned this a few months ago, but that the founder, one of the co-founders, Bill Wilson, actually was experimenting with LSD and was like a super huge proponent of people using acid as a means of connecting with a spiritual higher power and connecting with God. And I think that that's like such a fascinating component of this, because I think a lot of people think about AA and they think about this like incredible like rigidity. And it's fascinating to find out.
I think a lot of people in AA feel that way too.
Yeah. Well, it was like it was controversial, right?
It still is controversial. There are some folks that are in 12-step that like don't want to hear about like Bill's, foray into the psychedelics of it all. And there are some people in AA who consider like anything that affects you from the neck up to be like not sober. But they're also like chugging coffee, like 4 cups of coffee in the meeting, so like that I would say is probably affecting them a little bit from the neck up, so whatever. But I don't know, if people have a resentment or feel any type of way about like probably what I'm about to share about my experience with psychedelics, they can put me in their 4th step, they can write about me in their diary, they can take it up to their sponsor, their therapist, their fucking spiritual advisor, I don't care. Because right, like what other people think of me is not my business as much as I want it to be.
Hair flip.
But no, a couple years ago, the depression was depressioning. I found out I have something sexy called treatment-resistant depression, which the only cure for it is ketamine. And not the only cure. The only cure is ketamine, guys. No, like, it might be, but it is like it was recommended to me by a therapist who was also a member of 12-step programs for substance use, who had tried it herself. And the last couple of years I've been, just like playing with psilocybin and not playing, like just like on a therapist mandated journey with psychedelics, and it's been helpful. I'm not gonna ever say that like psychedelics are the thing that cured me from depression. I would say it's an addition to what was already a pretty solid like foundation of recovery from all of the fucking things that I'm in recovery from, like alcohol, drugs, food, sex, all the things that I have addiction struggles with, and the added layer of having depression and ADHD and anxiety and probably a little autism, like every queer person these days, and just like throwing the psychedelic therapy into the mix of the meditation, the prayer, the 12-step, the therapy, the exercise, the healthy, intuitive eating, the sober dating, all of the things. It's just like an added layer.
Yeah, I think part of what you're speaking to is like that it actually, I think contentment, sustainable contentment, actually requires the use of a lot of tools.
Yeah. And
I think so many of us think like we should just be able to sort of naturally be there or muscle our way through it. And it's like, no, use the tools.
You know what I like to muscle my way through? My workouts, my like physical like powerlifting workouts. Yeah. That is the only thing I really like to muscle through. Everything else I kind of like to like flow through, like and like breathe through.
I mean, I remember you telling me some months ago that when we first talked about your ketamine treatment, you had said to me that like getting sober was very important on your depression journey, but that some years into it, you were like, I'm still kind of depressed, and that ketamine made a marked difference for you that other things had not.
And the cool thing about it is that with all psychedelics, at least I've only tried 2. I've only tried like mushrooms and ketamine.
Let's put you on the acid train.
I haven't tried acid.
It's my favorite.
Since before I got sober, and it was bad. But I was also on like coke and like, drunk as fuck. Like, and
okay,
acid.
well,
So,
you know,
too many
there's
things
some cross-contamination
going
at play
on.
there.
I don't think anyone should ever do coke and acid at the same time, and I'm crazy for that. But you know, I didn't know what I didn't know. But yeah, there are many different like levels. Like, I mean, for the most part, in the beginning, I was just doing like teeny baby doses of ketamine that didn't necessarily do anything to me, but just allowed me to process things in a different way because of the neural pathways that are being formed and the new grooves in the brain that are allowing me to go deeper and look at like, oh, why do I say these things about my body? Or like, why do I feel this way about my relationship with my mother? Or why did I spend so much time in that relationship that didn't serve me as well as I thought it did? And it just like allows me to kind of just have more of an expansive understanding of stuff.
You can break open the stories that you've been telling yourself.
Sure, and yeah, I could do that by journaling, but I had been journaling, praying, meditating, going to meetings, doing all the things, doing all the steps, sponsoring a bunch of girls to a point where I was going insane again. So I needed something else. I needed to throw something else into the mix, and you know, the once a month ketamine therapy. Now I do more of a like I mean, I can't do anything without it being sort of alcoholic. I'm like, give me the drugs, and they're like, it's medicine, and I'm like, drugs. But
addictions transfer, right?
You know.
Yeah.
But it is not something that I consider myself addicted to, though, because I can go like, you know, many months without it. I'm actually like taking a break from all of the psychedelics right now, just to give myself a little reset. I also just like ran out of my like 10-pack of ketamine treatments because of course after the first IV that I got, I was just like, great, I want 9 more.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we actually have a package deal. So I did that for the last 10 months, and yeah, it really just like is another thing that helps. It's not the only thing that helps. There's no like one only thing that helps. The cool thing is that I have options now. It used to be there was only one option, and the option was like get so high that you don't remember what happened. And now there are just so many more options.
Well, I think we're very fortunate to be living in a time where all of these things are being made available to us in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
For me, I'm really passionate about like wanting to get this into the hands of everybody, not just like, frankly, like privileged white people who live on the coasts, you know, like let's allow psychedelic access to the masses. Like let's allow ketamine access to the masses, because there is so much healing that I think would be possible with greater access to this. But it, like you said, it is one tool in the toolkit, and other things that are totally free and accessible to all of us, like meditation and exercise and good nutrition and great sex, you know, all of those things are important too. I think there is something that has always rubbed me the wrong way about the way that we label certain people in society as addicts. You know, it's like, here you are, a sober person in recovery, and you have to say like, I'm an addict. But I think like, when we talked about this in the last episode actually with Danae Logan, that like nearly everyone, if not everyone, is addicted to something.
Yeah.
You know, shopping, sex.
One person.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think everyone has been in a position where they've been so obsessed with a person that they were like a drug to them. That's something that I deal with every time I think I like somebody, is that I like for a moment think they're gonna be the thing that restores me to sanity. And then I have to remember, oh right, like that's so unhealthy.
You're not gonna find it in somebody else.
You're not gonna find it in somebody else. And it's, at the end of the day, like I said, it's in you. It's deep in you. And usually when I like somebody, it's because they're reflecting a part of me that I like about myself to me, because I'm a Leo and I love a mirror. But yeah, I think everybody has something that they're like either addicted to or codependent with, or just like intensely reliant on. To a point where it could go to like a distorted place. It's just like how you choose to navigate that. Like, are you going to, you know, blot out the consciousness of like your reality? Or are you gonna like accept that you're addicted to it and accept help? Those are like really the two options, at least for me. And unfortunately, it's really hard for me to ask for help, especially now that I like think I've got it, like 6.5 years into sobriety. But then there are days where I like literally realize that I'm thinking crazy thoughts, or I'm having toxic feelings, or just like depressed again, or anxious again, or like on my way to a relapse if I'm not careful about the way I'm talking or thinking, or acting. And then I go, oh right, I can always ask for help. And that can be like me just like asking the universe for help, or like asking a friend for help, or just like surrendering in like a physical way. Like I sometimes will like get down on the ground and like touch my head to the ground. It's like such a physical like surrender.
Yeah. And like just getting into your body.
Yeah.
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 Out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Into here. Yeah. It's funny, I have a notification. I set these like sort of affirmations and notifications that pop up on my phone every day, you know, like things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you.
Oh, beautiful.
Right? And another one that I've had that's been popping up on my phone for probably the last 6 months is accept people's help.
Yeah.
Just like if somebody wants to do something nice for you, like let
them.
it happen.
Well, yeah, it's like kind of goes back to the love languages thing we were talking about before.
Oh my God.
Where you were like, I don't really like acts of service. And I was just like, interesting. I wonder what that's about.
Wait, hold on. I think I like all the things. I surely love it. Any capacity, I'll fucking take it. But it's not a primary love language for me, right? It's physical touch and quality time, hardcore. Physical touch above everything else.
Yeah. I'm a QT kind of girl myself.
Yeah.
Quality time.
Yeah. And acts of service,
and
right?
acts of service, yeah. But I wasn't active. I was very much physical touch before I stopped drinking and using. But it was more like I was just like a sex addict, and I was just like, anything that will fuck me, do that, please. Now I'm more just like I'm very protective of who I let into my bed and my orbit. Like just to have that kind of intimacy is really sacred to me now.
Did your sobriety and your recovery from alcoholism and drug use also have like the attendant impact of then like mitigating your sex and love addiction?
Yeah, I mean my
booze
bone is connected to my coke bone, and my coke bone's connected to my sex bone, and they're all connected to my mommy issues, and so yeah, I would say that like once I put alcohol and drugs down, it didn't fix everything necessarily, but it brought to light there was something else behind it, and that was the sex and love stuff. And then behind that, once I figured out how to like date like normally and not cheat on everybody, and not be a complete and total fucking menace to the society that we live in, it was food. And then behind that was money. Money is the big one. And like behind money is just this like deep fear of success, like, and this fear of failure that like kind of go hand in hand. And behind that is like another fear, and that's like fear of the unknown. Like I'm deeply addicted to control. Control is probably my biggest addiction.
Fallacy.
Yeah, control or fantasy, like just like not being exactly where I am right now. I'm addicted to that. I love to just like go off into my little like Barbie land fantasy world where I'm, yeah, like we were just talking about more, right? The like richer, hotter, skinnier, more booked and more busy and more blessed version of me feels always just a little too out of reach, so that I like am scraping for it constantly. And it takes me like now just, it's gotten easier and easier. They joke that like for every year that you have sober, you get 1 more second of pause. So I've got like 6.5 seconds of like pause right now.
A second a year?
Jesus. Well, yeah. And I get to pause for 6 seconds, 6.5 seconds now, and go, all right, like I'm grateful for the fact that I am exactly where I am right now, because I still have some anonymity. Like I could be walking down the street and you know, a group of gay people would be walking towards me, and one of them would go, I think that's Rivkah Reyes. And then somebody would go, who? And then somebody else would go, no, I don't think that's her. I have this like level of anonymity that I'm really, and this privacy that I am really grateful for. But of course, there's always this like little thing in me, this like hungry ghost that's like, but don't you want to be like Zendaya level famous? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit.
So there is still like a coveting.
Sure,
there.
Yeah. And I think I would be lying if I said there wasn't. But it's all coming from a place of I just love what I do so much, and not necessarily coming from a place of like deep financial insecurity or like wanting to like prove it to everyone who like bullied me in grade school that I like actually am a star. I know I'm a fucking star. And
the reality is that I mean, it obviously sounds fucking woo-woo, but truly there is no external authority that you need to tell you that.
No.
You know? Like, you know that.
Yeah, deeply.
Like, that is inherent in who you are and how you move through the world.
Yeah, and if I ever forget, I go to stud country. Like, it literally, that's like, I feel like a star when I'm there, and it's a stardom I can control. You know?
I have had the experience since I started teaching there of, in like a kind of shocking way, because it's not that many, it's 300, maybe 400 people who are there, but it's so zeitgeisty. And I have had the experience recently in both LA and New York of literally being stopped by strangers on the street who are like, "Are you Serena from Stud Country?" Yes. And I host this show, and no one has ever recognized me for this show, but I get recognized for Stud all the time, and you know what, like, I will admit it, like, it fucking thrills me. You know?
Feels good, doesn't it?
Feels great. Yeah,
it feels
great.
good for me when I get recognized for something that's not School of Rock, and I've also had it happen where people are like, "Oh my God, I've seen your line dancing videos," and I'm like, yes, fuck yeah.
And also, it's like, that is something that's happening currently in your life, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we're aligned in this regard. It's something that is coming from a place of such true joy, right? Like, it's like I was talking about in the opening, like, this is something that I truly, really want to do. It is like from a space of honesty and purpose for me, and so is that. And so when you, I think when you get recognized for something that you love.
Do you have a dance wound?
Oh, I don't know.
It's like a mother wound, but from like being a dancer.
I mean, like, yes, dance will obviously fuck you up, right? Like, the eating disorders, the deep
emotional
sense of
comparison.
The deep sense of comparison. Like, I remember I'm small, but I've always had an ass. Yeah. And I remember being in ballet class and getting into some kind of position, and my ballet teacher coming up and saying to the entire class, like, if she can do it, you should be able to too. And I had like 0% body fat on me. It wasn't that. It was just the shape of my
I'm like, okay, go off.
And you're like, you're 12, It's like, what does that do to your fucking psyche? It's insane. So do I have a dance wound?
I think all dancers do.
Definitely, but also when I think about what it's granted me in my life, the confidence, like, it's funny because I'm talking about like the dysmorphia and the eating disorders and whatever, but also like the deep comfort in my skin. And I think dance is such like an insanely primal human need and such an incredible pathway, not only to joy, but also to God.
Yeah, period.
To a large, like a higher power. And the fact that I have such easy access to that, I feel so grateful for, you know? So do I have a wound? Yes, but like, would I trade it for the alternative? Like,
definitely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
You?
I do have a dance wound in that I basically, I wanted to be a dancer my whole childhood, but my parents and I were all so dead set on me being a musician first that I took a couple ballet classes and decided, like, that I was bad at it because I had a dance teacher correct me. I'm very lanky and always have been. I've always been like 5'7" since I was like probably like 4. That's such a hyperbolic way to say that. I've just always been like awkwardly tall and have awkwardly long limbs, and I'm also like double jointed and like hyper flexible and hyper mobile.
I never think of you as awkwardly tall.
Thank you.
For the record.
Well, yeah, now I've kind of grown into it.
You're just...
People are tall around me too, but like when I was in high school, I was taller than all the boys, and like it's kind of a couple nicknames that I had, like Bird and like Big Bird and things like that. But anyway, yeah, there was just like a long period of resentment that I had never got into like competitive dance or like took ballet very seriously, because then I started telling myself I was a bad dancer, and I like really loved to like do improvised dance, but I was terrified of choreography, because I had always gotten like the note that I was like too flappy and my arms were like kind of T-Rexy. And so I had told myself I was a bad dancer. And it wasn't until I started coming to Stud and like getting on that stage and going that I did start to feel like a good dancer. And now, like, I mean, I've gone to a couple of like Broadway level dance calls since coming into this like Studosphere, or the Studiverse. I don't know, what do we call it?
I think it's Studiverse.
Studiverse, yes.
Yeah.
The Studiverse. And now I feel like I can slay a dance call because I am not afraid of choreography, and I'm not a bad dancer. I just had to practice more than once, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
God, it's so funny. I joke that like this whole show is basically just like grassroots marketing for
Stud Country. Yeah,
it comes up all the time.
I'm sure it does.
Like every single episode.
It's a big part of your life.
It's a huge part of my life and
mine too.
Of our lives, and I just think it's incredible, like the sort of pathways to healing that this has created for people.
Completely.
Myself included. I have said this before, but I don't think I would have gotten the gumption to start this show had it not been for Stud. Like,
yeah.
I had for years been in these jobs where I had kind of been told, like, be a behind the scenes person and like dim yourself a little bit, dim your light a little bit. And like, that's how you should walk through the world. And then I went to Stud and I was like, oh, right. Like, this is what it feels like to be back in my power. And it's not power over, it is power with.
And
you know
within.
what I mean? Yeah, and it's like, it's a light that is being shone on everyone, you know? So it's not like here I am at the top of the mountain, you know?
Right.
But it was such a great reminder of what it feels like I was just like, oh, there she is.
I think Stud Country for me in AA kind of have a similar vibe. Cause like when I'm in AA, like when I'm in a meeting, I'm not sitting there thinking about my hair or how I look or like whatever. I'm literally just thinking about those steps, right? Like, you know, how am I going to help somebody?
Thinking about my hair.
Yeah, sometimes I'm thinking about it at Stud because like at the like after the second lesson, I am fully drenched in sweat. Yeah. Actually, it's like long before the second lesson. I think like after like the first like round of line dances.
It's Bikram yoga in there.
Yeah, it's hot yoga, but better because it's slutty and gay. But
slutty and gay.
Yeah.
No better combo.
Honey. Yeah, but no, I think I am like at Stud Country. I'm also focused on helping the new person like learn the steps behind me for like one of the easier dances. Like if it's, you know, Texas time, I can like call it out over my shoulder, and it feels so good to like be standing next to somebody, and then next week they know the choreography better than I do. Like
not what do I need more of? How
exactly.
Can I serve?
How can I help?
How can I serve?
I love being on the side and helping the new line dancer, just as much as I like being in the room and helping the new alcoholic. Yeah.
There's a viewer question that I wanted to ask. This is really good. You were talking about fear of success and fear of failure. Any words of wisdom about how someone can work on finding the balancing act between those two extremes? Or my addition to that would be, are they kind of one and the same?
They are pretty much the same thing. I think beneath the fear of success is just this thing. Well, I think beneath the fear of failure is like, what if everything goes wrong? I think everyone kind of has that bone in their body. What if everything goes wrong? And
what
then
if I
it's
lose
like
everything?
Flip. Yeah. What if I lose everything? What if I don't get my way? On the other side of that is, what if everything goes right? And for me, I love living in like, what if everything goes right? What if I do get everything that I think I want? That would be cool. But there are some people, and I have been one of these people in the past, what if everything goes right? Then that means I'll be making more money, and more money means more problems, and then I'll have to pay taxes rather than getting a tax refund, and then you can spiral into all of that. Like, but what if I don't have the right resource? What if everybody?
What if my friends feel differently about me? Yeah.
Yeah, and like, what if I, make a really good, successful piece of art and everybody hates it? Or like, everybody loves it except for my mom.
Right.
You know?
Right. What if I become popular and then I'm accused of being a sellout? Like, yeah.
Yeah, what if I get canceled? You know, because like being successful does, I think, open up a lot of doors for people to come in and into the woodwork or come back out of the woodwork and like, you know, try and drag a bitch down. And I've been guilty, like not guilty, but I've had that happen to me before. Like the more successful I get, like I'm just counting down the days until somebody like brings something up that I like did when I was like blacked out or whatever, or like.
God, I hope you're not counting down the days.
I'm not. I'm trying not to. I gotta work on it. I think being canceled means that you're deeply successful.
Yeah, it kind of almost seems like a rite of passage for a lot of people. Yeah, there are obviously there's a spectrum, right? And there are people who are really worthy of being held to account.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a lot of stuff that's just like a little knee jerk. Like people want to say like, oh, you're bad and I'm good and it feels good. But I think the pendulum is swinging back.
Thank
to
God.
some degree. There is one other thing about AA that I think is so fascinating and I think is so sorely needed. And it's like something that it's like I wonder if this tradition in AA could be transferred to just like society at large, which is this tradition of like vigorous honesty, of being able to like be in a room and like say, you know, share your deepest, darkest shame and have people bear witness to that.
And not only bear witness to it, but go, yeah, me too. Like that is why I fell in love with it and why I continue to go. Is because when I first came into 12-step and started hearing people like share their stories, their experience, their strength, their hope, and what it was like, and kind of some of the mental gymnastics that people would do to get out of like their addictions or to try to control their addictions, I was just like, I didn't know I wasn't the only person that kept a spreadsheet of every time I blacked out and what I drank on that night and how many waters I had in between and who I went home with. Like I was so, I have a couple Virgo placements, so like I was very like spreadsheet coded, like and organized around like my blackouts. And when I heard somebody else talk about that and like they felt like they were on the Truman Show from a young age, like these are things that I had kept in here because I thought if I ever said them out loud to a therapist, they would send me away for being too crazy. And then when these motherfuckers in AA were saying some of the stuff that I was thinking my whole life, I was like, fuck, I mean, I guess I'm not alone. Like, and they really do mean it when you say, what a relief that you're not alone and what a relief that you haven't had a single unique experience or thought. Everyone, not everybody, but a lot of people that struggle with addiction have a very similar brain to me. And that's so relieving because then when I am having the crazy thought, I can call somebody else and be honest with them. And this is from somebody that used to be a pathological liar. And a lot of addicts lie. That's like a big thing, you know. And then having somebody reflect to me like why I'm crazy and why there's a solution. It feels great. It feels fucking great. Yeah. So I wouldn't throw that away.
Why you're crazy for feeling the way about yourself that you do in that moment. Not that you're actually crazy.
Not that I'm actually crazy, but like why the thought that I'm having in that moment is delusional or, let's not say crazy, but like why the thought that I'm having is an alcoholic thought or a thought that's from the disease or from the ego and not from my soul.
What else could be true?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. We play a little game on the show. Of course, everybody's got to have a signature segment. It's called Am I Doing It Right?
Ooh.
It's the conceit of the show. What is something you are actively working on right now?
Oh, I'm trying to not say I'm tired.
Ooh.
Yeah. Why?
Oh, God, I fail at that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for asking. I think that when I say those words, when I say, oh, I'm just so tired, it's usually like filler. It's like not actual, like it's not the truth. Like I've had a busy day. Am I tired? No, I've had like several cold brews today. And also when I do say I'm tired, it manifests as my body shutting down and thinking it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
So I'm trying really hard not to say I'm tired. I've started saying T word instead, like as a stupid thing. I got that from Bowen Yang. I think like he said it on his podcast and I thought it was the funniest thing ever.
I'm obsessed with Bowen.
Yeah, I mean, Las Culturistas is my favorite podcast, and it's, I think, maybe the only podcast I have listened to consistently.
Yeah.
Ever since it first came out.
It's
just so good.
best.
I've never watched a single Housewives franchise except for Salt Lake City. But yeah,
I will listen to them talk about Real Housewives for 45
and I feel like
minutes.
I know
It's so
all
bizarre.
I need to know.
Totally. Okay, not saying you're tired. It's kind of like people having an addiction to saying that they're busy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what does it really mean? Something you're bad at and you're totally fine with being bad at it.
Oh, bowling. I recently learned that I'm bad at bowling, and I'm like totally okay with it. Yeah. At the Lucky Strike by my apartment, where my roommate and I sometimes will go bowling just for shits and giggles.
Oh, okay.
There's a list of all the celebrities that have bowled there, and my score is lower than the lowest ranking celebrity.
It's like its own claim to fame, you know?
Yeah, which is its own claim to fame. Yeah.
When do you feel sexiest?
Right now, it's like when we're doing Gasolina, or like when we're doing Cowgirls, or Don't Tell Me, or like one of the line dances. And then also, I feel sexy all the time. Like, you know, I really do, like, lately feel sexy all the time, which is good.
What a beautiful sentiment.
I think I feel sexy when I'm single.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is new. We'll have to have you on for another hour to talk about that.
Or not.
Last one. What feels most like love to you?
Ooh. When somebody asks, what do you need? What can I get you? Like, you know, what do you need is such a love question. Like, that's such a love-coded question.
She's an acts of service girl.
Yeah, I guess I really, really am.
You really are. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So nice. I'm a physical touch, so
yes.
We're doing this.
I love an Oprah hands ending.
That's the gospel I was raised on, you know?
Honey.
Thanks to my guest, Rivkah Reyes. She is doing a great many things. You've got an album in the works.
Got an album in the works.
People can watch your short, Gianna, right?
People can watch Gianna, yeah.
Where?
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And also, I think there is a link in my Instagram bio with all of my links to various things that I am working on.
Go find her on Instagram at Rivkah Reyes. Sometimes you can find her on OnlyFans.
No, not anymore. My OnlyFans days are over.
It's a different day, but you might be able to find me on OnlyFans soon enough.
Slay!
Thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks to my crew and to my director. Feeling really filled with gratitude right now. We'll see you guys for the next one. Yay!